When I first met Commander Alara, she was standing alone in the docking bay of Outpost Kestrel, staring at the stars as if they had personally offended her. Kestrel wasn't much to look at, an aging military platform bolted to the edge of neutral space, where treaties thinned and pirates grew bold. The metal floors groaned with every shift of gravity. The lights flickered in tired pulses. It was the kind of place careers came to rust. I was a mechanic. Or at least, that's what my uniform claimed. In truth, I was whatever the station needed. Welder, software patcher, hull inspector, occasional smuggler of contraband coffee beans. I'd been on Kestrel 5 years and had learned 2 things: stay out of command's way and never volunteer for anything involving alien dignitaries. Which is exactly why I should have walked away when she turned and looked at me. Her uniform was a deep slate blue, insignia stitched in silver along the collar. She wore no helmet, though most officers did in open docking bays. Her dark hair was tied back with military precision. Her eyes, sharp, assessing, locked onto mine. "You're the mechanic assigned to Dock 3, she said. I considered lying. "Yes, Commander." "Good." She stepped closer. "You're coming with me." That was the beginning. Her ship was unlike anything I'd seen before. The Astrea hung beyond the docking clamps, sleek and curved like a blade of glass suspended in space. Its hull shimmered faintly with embedded quantum lattice, experimental tech, the kind whispered about in briefing rooms but rarely seen outside classified reports. "I didn't know we had ships like that," I muttered. "We don't," she replied evenly. "Not officially." That should have been my first warning. Inside, the Astrea was quiet, too quiet. No hum of conventional reactors. No vibration from ion thrusters. Instead, a low harmonic resonance thrummed through the walls, almost musical. "It's powered by a Zanari core," she said, watching my expression. The Zanari. Everyone knew the stories. An ancient alien civilization wiped out centuries ago, leaving behind scattered relics that defied human science. Their technology bent gravity, folded space, and occasionally tore small holes in reality. And Commander Alara had one in her engine room. She led me to the central corridor and stopped. "Before you step further," she said, "you will agree to 3 laws." I blinked. "Laws?" "My laws. While you serve aboard this vessel." "Serve. Not assist. Not repair. Serve," she continued before I could object. "First, you will obey every direct order I give without hesitation." A standard military expectation. Reasonable enough. "Second, you will never access the ship's core systems without my explicit authorization." That one made sense too. Zanari tech wasn't exactly user-friendly. "Third, if I am incapacitated, you will prioritize the ship's survival over mine." I stared at her. "Over yours? The Astrea is more important than I am. It cannot fall into the wrong hands. And if saving you risks the ship, you let me die." She said it calmly, like she was discussing maintenance schedules. I swallowed. "Why me?" "Because," she said softly, "everyone else I asked said no." That should have been my second warning. But I nodded. "I agree to your 3 laws, Commander." Her gaze held mine for a long moment. "Good. Then, welcome aboard." The mission was classified, of course. Officially, we were conducting long-range sensor calibration near the Veil Expanse, a region of unstable space-time distortions. Unofficially, we were hunting something. 3 weeks into the journey, she finally told me what. "There's a Zanari relic adrift near the Expanse," she said, projecting a holographic star map. "A beacon." "For what?" "We don't know. But it activated 2 months ago." "After centuries?" "Yes." I frowned. So we're just going to knock? She almost smiled. We're going to listen. The beacon, according to deep scans, was emitting structured gravitational pulses, patterns too precise to be natural. Like a heartbeat, I murmured. Exactly. The closer we traveled to the expanse, the stranger things became. Instruments flickered. Time stamps drifted by microseconds. Once, I swore I saw something outside the viewport, vast and angular, vanish when I blinked. Alara remained composed, controlled, but I began to notice the strain in her eyes. She rarely slept. We reached the beacon on day 28. It floated at the center of a fractured asteroid field, a black polyhedral structure rotating slowly in vacuum. Its surface was etched with luminous lines that pulsed in slow rhythm. The Astrea shuddered as we approached. Gravitational flux increasing, I reported. It's pulling on the core. I expected as much. You expected? Before I could finish, the ship lurched violently. Warning lights flared crimson. Commander, the beacon's locking onto us. Hold position, she ordered. I stared at her. It's trying to override our systems. Maintain position. That was Law 1. You will obey every direct order I give without hesitation. I clenched my jaw and rerouted power to stabilizers. The beacon's pulses intensified. The ship's harmonic resonance shifted, discordant now. Core temperature rising. I shouted. If this continues, we'll breach. Just a little longer, she whispered. The holographic display flickered, and then changed. A pattern emerged from the gravitational pulses. Not random. Not hostile. Coordinates. They're not attacking, I realized. They're transmitting. Alara stepped closer to the display. Her hand trembled slightly. I was right, she breathed. About what? She hesitated. About them still being alive. The Zanari weren't extinct. They were dormant. The beacon was a wake-up call, and the Astrea's core, a hybridized fragment of Zanari technology, was the key. You used their tech to build this ship, I said slowly. Yes. And now it's responding. Yes. And you didn't tell command? No. I laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. We're going to be court-martialed into atoms. Only if we survive, she replied. The beacon's surface split open, revealing a hollow interior filled with swirling light. Energy spike. I warned. The ship was dragged forward. Alara, it's pulling us in. Good. Good? The Astrea crossed the threshold, and reality fractured. It felt like drowning in light. The interior of the beacon wasn't a chamber, it was a pocket dimension. Space folded around us in luminous arcs. Structures of impossible geometry floated in the void, humming with ancient power. At the center hung something vast. A Zanari vessel, intact. Its hull shimmered like liquid starlight, spanning kilometers. It was beautiful and terrifying. They've been hiding, Alara whispered. A pulse rippled through the pocket space. Our ship's core answered. And then the Zanari vessel began to power up. That's not good, I muttered. On the contrary, she said, eyes shining. It's magnificent. The Zanari ship extended a lattice of energy toward us, probing. Our systems lit up with cascading alerts. They're accessing our databases. Let them. Commander, let them. Law 1. I gripped the console and did nothing. The probing intensified. Suddenly, Alara gasped and staggered. Commander? She clutched her head, eyes unfocused. They're communicating, she whispered. With you? Yes. Her body went rigid. The energy lattice brightened, enveloping the Astrea. Core overload, I shouted. They're drawing too much power. She didn't respond. Her vitals spiked wildly. Alara, The ship's AI chimed. Neural interface detected. Unauthorized synaptic link established. They're inside your mind, I breathed. Her voice came faint, strained. They're afraid. Of what? Of us. The Zanari vessel's weapons arrays, vast crescents along its hull, began to glow. They think we're the threat, I realized. The AI flashed a dire warning. Energy buildup critical. Elara, they're charging weapons. She didn't move. Commander. Finally she spoke, distant and fragmented. Do not interfere. That was an order.
Law 1.
You will obey every direct order I give without hesitation. But if I obeyed, the Zanari ship would fire. And if it fired, the Astrea would be vaporized. Maybe Earth would be next. Her vitals plummeted. The neural link was killing her. Law 3 echoed in my mind. If I am incapacitated, you will prioritize the ship's survival over mine. But she wasn't just incapacitated. She was being consumed. The AI began a countdown to catastrophic breach. 30 seconds. Elara, I whispered. I'm sorry. Then I broke the first law. I severed the neural link. Not gently. I rerouted every ounce of auxiliary power into the interface node and overloaded it. The feedback surge blasted through the connection like a thunderclap. The ship convulsed. Elara screamed. The energy lattice shattered. The Zanari vessel recoiled, its weapon arrays flickering out. The pocket dimension trembled violently. I grabbed Elara as she collapsed, pulling her away from the console. The AI shrieked warnings about structural instability. Core at 98%. I barked, initiating emergency jump. But the dimensional anchor, the AI began. Override. Now. The Astrea tore free from the pocket space in a burst of distorted light. Stars snapped back into view. We were drifting near the veil expanse, alarms blaring. Elara lay unconscious in my arms. But she was alive. She woke 3 days later in the medical bay. I was half asleep in a chair beside her when she spoke. You disobeyed me. Her voice was weak, but steady. I rubbed my eyes. Yes, Commander. Silence stretched between us. You broke the first law, she continued. Yes. Why? I exhaled slowly. Because the Zanari were about to fire. Because your neural link was frying your brain. Because if I'd obeyed you, you'd be dead. She studied me. And the ship? Still intact. A faint smile touched her lips. So you preserved both. By ignoring you. She closed her eyes briefly. They were terrified, you know. I figured. They believed humanity would conquer the stars and eradicate them. Would we? She opened her eyes again. I don't know. I leaned forward. You said the Astrea was more important than you. It is. No, I said quietly. It isn't. Her gaze sharpened. You're the one who can choose what to do with it. The ship's just metal and alien circuits. You're the difference between first contact and first war. She looked away, considering. I wanted to prove they still existed, she admitted. To force command to acknowledge them. And you almost died doing it. Yes. She turned back to me. You saved my life by breaking my law. I did. And you endangered the mission. Probably. A long pause. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed softly. Perhaps my laws were flawed. Maybe just the first one. She nodded faintly. Very well, mechanic. We will amend them. Oh. New first law. You will obey my direct orders, unless doing so would cause irreversible harm to innocent life. That's broader. It allows for judgment. And the second? Unchanged. I smirked. Of course. And the third, she hesitated. If I am incapacitated, you will attempt to save both the ship and me. I blinked. That's less dramatic. I find I prefer it. When we returned to Kestrel, the official report was heavily redacted. We claimed equipment malfunction near the Expanse. No mention of pocket dimensions. No mention of a living Zanari fleet. Alara kept the coordinates private. Why not tell command? I asked as we stood once more in the docking bay where it had all begun. Because humanity is not ready, she said. And neither are they. So what now? She looked at the stars. Now we prepare. For war? For understanding.
She turned to me.
I'm assembling a new crew.
Scientists.
Diplomats. People capable of restraint. And mechanics? Especially mechanics. I folded my arms. With amended laws? With trust. I considered the offer. Kestrel was safe. Predictable. The Astrea was neither. But beyond the Veil Expanse, an ancient civilization waited in fear. Someone had to prove we weren't monsters. When do we leave? I asked. Her answering smile was small but certain. Soon. As I walked toward the ship, I glanced back once at the distant stars. Breaking her first law had saved her life. It had also changed something fundamental between us. Obedience had kept the mission intact, but disobedience had preserved its future. And somewhere, in a hidden pocket of folded space, the Zanari waited, no longer certain that humanity meant them harm. Not allies. Not yet, but alive. And now, so were we. We left Outpost Kestrel under a veil of routine paperwork and falsified maintenance logs. On record, the Astrea was undergoing long-term system recalibration. In reality, we were heading back toward the Veil Expanse, with a different purpose. This time, we weren't chasing proof. We were carrying an answer. Alara stood beside me on the command deck as the stars stretched into lines and folded into the soft distortion of faster-than-light travel. The crew was small, handpicked. A xenolinguist named Armin Hale, a quantum sociologist Dr. Nira Sol, 2 engineers who asked fewer questions than most. And me. Not just a mechanic anymore. Alara had changed the ship's operational charter before departure. It was subtle, buried in encryption layers, but I saw it. Primary objective: establish peaceful contact with Zanari civilization. Secondary objective: prevent escalation between species at all costs. I glanced at her. That's not the kind of directive that gets you promoted. No, she replied calmly. It's the kind that keeps stars from burning. When the beacon reappeared on our scanners, it pulsed differently. Not frantic. Not defensive. Curious. The black polyhedron rotated in silence as before, luminous veins tracing slow patterns across its surface. But this time, when the Astrea approached, it did not seize control of our systems. It waited. They're expecting us, Armin whispered. Alara nodded. Open a passive channel. No active core synchronization. I felt the tension in the deck plating as the Zanari core within our ship hummed in restrained resonance. It wanted to answer the beacon fully, to reconnect. But this time, we approached on our terms. The polyhedron unfolded, revealing the shimmering interior portal. The pocket dimension yawned open like a wound in reality. Entering, I announced. The ship crossed the threshold more smoothly than before. The luminous void embraced us once again, geometric structures drifting like frozen thoughts. And at the center, the vast Zanari vessel stirred, its hull reflecting prismatic light. It did not charge weapons. It did not probe aggressively. Instead, a lattice of soft energy extended, hesitant. Alara stepped forward. Prepare limited neural interface, she said. I stiffened. Commander. She looked at me, steady. Limited. You have override authority. The amended first law. I swallowed and nodded. The interface activated, but at 1/10 the previous amplitude. Energy brushed against her consciousness gently this time, like fingertips against glass. Her breathing slowed. They remember, she murmured. Remember what?
You.
My pulse quickened. Me? When you severed the link, she said softly. You did not attack their vessel. You only broke the connection. You chose defense, not retaliation. The Zanari vessel surface shimmered. Vast shapes moved beneath its translucent hull, beings of light and shifting geometry. They believed humanity would respond with force, Ilara continued. You disproved that assumption. A new pattern rippled through the pocket dimension, slow, harmonic, layered. Armin's instruments lit up. It's structured, he exclaimed. It's a language. Not words as we understood them, but gravitational harmonics carrying meaning. Ilara winced slightly, then smiled. They're asking a question. What kind?
I asked.
She's asking, Ilara corrected quietly. She, the one speaking to me before. A leader, perhaps. Or something analogous. The luminous Zanari vessel pulsed once, gently. What's the question? I pressed. Ilara's eyes opened, meeting mine. She's asking why you broke your law. I felt heat rise in my chest. Tell her the truth. Ilara's lips curved faintly. I am. The pocket dimension grew brighter, not in aggression, but in comprehension. Patterns overlapped, weaving complex resonance through the void. They don't structure society around obedience, Ilara said, voice distant. They structure it around preservation of collective continuity. That sounds peaceful. It also means they eliminate variables that threaten stability. And we look like a variable. Yes. A pause. They want assurance, she whispered. Not promises. Evidence. Evidence of what? That humanity can choose restraint over dominance. I exhaled slowly. That's a tall order. The Zanari vessel shifted, revealing something behind it. A cluster of dormant constructs, smaller ships folded into crystalline shapes. They have a fleet, Armin breathed. And it's been sleeping, Ilara replied. For how long? I asked. Centuries. A heavy silence filled the deck. If they wake it, Nira said quietly, the balance of power in the galaxy changes overnight. Ilara's jaw tightened. They don't want war, she said. But they will not allow extinction. The energy lattice brightened slightly around our ship. They're offering something, Ilara said.
What?
A demonstration. Before I could ask what that meant, the pocket dimension shifted. A region of space unfolded before us, like a window opening into another sector of the galaxy. We saw it clearly. A human fleet. 3 Dreadnought-class warships bearing Earth Coalition insignia. Weapons armed. Scanning aggressively near the Veil Expanse's perimeter. They followed us, I muttered. Ilara's expression darkened. Command never trusted my report. The Zanari constructs glowed faintly behind their massive vessel. They're showing us their capacity, Ilara whispered. If they perceive imminent threat, the human dreadnoughts launched reconnaissance drones. One drifted dangerously close to the beacon's external boundary. A spike of tension rippled through the Zanari field. Weapons arrays began to form, not fully charged, but emerging. Ilara, I said tightly, they're about to fire. They are waiting, she replied. For what? For us. The realization hit me like vacuum exposure. They want to see what we do. Yes. The amended first law echoed in my mind. You will obey my direct orders, unless doing so would cause irreversible harm to innocent life. Alara turned to me. Open a direct transmission to the Coalition fleet. They won't accept hails inside a classified anomaly zone. Override protocol. I hesitated only a fraction of a second, then complied. A crackling image of Admiral Rice filled the forward display, his face stern. Commander Vey, he snapped. You are operating beyond authorized parameters. Stand down and prepare for escort. You need to withdraw, Alara said immediately. Excuse me? There is a non-hostile civilization within this anomaly. Your approach is escalating tensions. Rice scoffed. Your report was speculative at best. We're securing potential alien weaponry. Behind us, the Zenari constructs brightened another degree. You are not securing anything, Alara said evenly. You are about to trigger a defensive response you cannot survive. Rice's eyes hardened. Is that a threat?
No.
It's a warning. The reconnaissance drone edged closer to the beacon's threshold. The Zenari weapons arrays solidified. My hands hovered over the controls. Alara, she nodded once. I understood. I cut our ship's power signature. To the human fleet, we vanished from tactical displays. Then I did something far more reckless. I piloted the Astrea directly between the beacon and the nearest dreadnought. Gasps erupted across our deck. Alara, if they fire. They won't, she said, though I could hear the strain. On the Coalition channel, Rice shouted. What the hell are you doing? Choosing, Alara replied. The Zenari weapons arrays locked, not on the dreadnought. On us. Every alarm screamed. I felt cold clarity settle over me. If they shoot, I murmured, it'll be at point-blank range. Yes. And we won't survive. No, she looked at me. You can still move us. I met her gaze. The amended law gave me the option. I could preserve the ship, preserve myself, or I could hold position. Beyond us, the Zenari vessel pulsed uncertainly. They were watching,
learning.
I thought about the first time I'd broken her law to save her life. About the moment I chose not to retaliate. About what kind of species we wanted to be. I tightened my grip on the controls and held the Astrea steady.
We're staying, I said.
On the view screen, Admiral Rice barked orders to power down weapons. The dreadnought's cannons dimmed incrementally. The reconnaissance drone halted its advance. Silence rippled through space. For 3 endless seconds, the Zenari weapons arrays remained fixed on us. Then they dissolved. The pocket dimension's tension eased like a held breath released. The human fleet's scanners flickered, suddenly unable to penetrate the anomaly. The window into normal space folded shut. We were alone again with the Zenari. Alara sagged slightly, relief washing through her. They understand, she whispered. What? I asked. That we were willing to place ourselves between them and our own kind. The Zenari vessel emitted a new harmonic, deep, resonant, layered with complexity. Armin's instruments struggled to interpret it. It's not just language, he breathed. It's an accord. Alara smiled faintly. They are offering limited exchange. Knowledge. Observation. Gradual contact. Not surrender. Not alliance. Trust. Earned in fractions. The dormant fleet behind them dimmed, returning to slumber. The pocket dimension stabilized. You realize, I said quietly, if Command finds out what happened, we'll be charged with insubordination at the highest level. Yes. And if they don't, then we begin something fragile and unprecedented. I looked at the luminous giants before us. Do you think humanity's ready? She considered that for a long moment. No, she said honestly, but readiness rarely precedes necessity. The Zanari lattice extended one final time. Not invasive, not binding. An exchange of data flowed between our ships. Mathematical constants. Stellar maps. Fragments of philosophy encoded in gravitational rhythm. Then the portal began to close. As the Astrea drifted back into normal space, the beacon folded into stillness, once more, silent, dormant.
Not gone.
Waiting. Weeks later, back at Kestrel, official inquiries were conducted. Reports were filed. Certain sensor anomalies were deemed unverifiable. Admiral Rice received a private briefing he would never admit occurred. The Astrea was reassigned under a new exploratory mandate. Quietly,
Carefully.
as I stood again in the docking bay where this all began, Alara approached. "You broke my first law," she said thoughtfully. "Twice," I reminded her. "Yes." And she extended her hand. "Thank you." I shook it, surprised by the warmth in her grip. "Does this mean fewer laws?" I asked. She tilted her head. "No." A faint smile curved her lips. "It means better ones." Above us, the Astrea gleamed under station lights, human engineering fused with alien legacy. Not a weapon, not a trophy, a bridge. Somewhere beyond the veil expanse, the Zanari watched, not with fear alone now, but with cautious hope. And I realized something as I prepared for our next departure. Obedience can preserve order. Disobedience can preserve life. But choice, conscious, deliberate choice, is what defines a civilization. She gave me 3 laws to follow. Breaking the first saved her life. Holding the line when I could have fled saved something far greater. The future had not been secured by firepower. It had been secured by restraint. And that, I thought as the stars stretched once more into luminous threads, was a law worth keeping.